to the right, breaks a tackle. They blitz it. Prescott throws it down the right side for Lamb. Caught it! Back to throw, rush, sacked by Carson.
Belt-tie snap. Prescott with plenty of time. Lobs it end zone. Jake Ferguson.
Duke it out like grown men. Come on, duke it out like grown men. Yeah. Oh, hey, I ran, didn't I?
Got him. I ain't gonna play around with him.
I'm gonna punch my head out.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Turn around.
Woo! Let's hit the Heisman.
It's the face.
There it is.
It's the.
That is.
Oh.
Get it. Spider-Man. Yeah. Double Spider-Man.
An exclusive sneak peek behind the scenes at Media Day this past week here as we welcome you to the Blitz. Bill Jones along with Nicole Hutchison. It's finals week here. Final exams for the players because it's mandatory minicamp week. This week right here, we find out more about this team than any other week during the offseason.
Yeah, we get a chance to find out more about how they are off the field and on the field. So many good vibes right there. I know you guys saw that little montage that they had, but no, a lot of good vibes for Media Day. I got a chance to get to know a couple of the players very well as well.
All right, we look forward to seeing that here on this edition of the Blitz, but let's kick things off. Let's talk about one of the mainstays already on that offensive line at left guard, exclusively at left guard. Cross your fingers, Tyler Smith.
I'm definitely excited. Just knowing kind of, where I'm going to be and, what I need to improve on. Obviously, we got to stay ready because, that's part of our mantra, 5 is 1. Anything happens, everybody has to step up. But I'm definitely excited to, just be able to, work at that spot, just continue to get better each day for sure.
What a start to Tyler Smith's career the last 2 years. First-round draft pick 2 years ago, already been to 2 Pro Bowls, and now he is your left guard.
Yes, he is, and I think that this is a good decision by this coaching staff, right? Because it's a cliche, right? Practice makes perfect, but repetition is truly key, and if you want a player to be really good and excel at that position, they've got to just stay at it. I mean, look at the numbers of what he did in 2023. He was the 9th highest among guards who playing a minimum of 600 snaps, the highest graded in the run game as well on this team. I mean, you talk about what he brings to that position. It's just the pure strength and power. I think they need to keep him at left guard.
Well, and that's one of the reasons they went for a left tackle, Tyler Guyton, in the first round this year because of what Tyler Smith has done at left guard. He can slide out to left tackle if needed like he did his rookie season. The Cowboys hope they don't need him to do that. Let's talk about a second-year player, Deuce Vaughn, draft pick from last year, who played running back last year, being used as a slot receiver some this year. Let's hear what Deuce has to say about that.
It was one of those things that we had kind of talked about at the end of the season last year, talking with Shadi just a little bit about getting with that slot, getting with a Brandon Cooks, getting with a guy that plays out there and just learning a little bit more about it because it's one of the things I did in college and I love to do. And then just like I said, adds another value. So getting into this OTA season is perfect to go out here and learn with these guys and be on the field with Dak, understand what he's thinking, understand what Coop's thinking, understand what these guys are doing.
I love this move by the Cowboys. I thought this was probably their plan from day one when they drafted Deuce Vaughn. Remember, Brian Schottenheimer was the offensive coordinator at San Diego when Darren Sproles, another K-Stater, came into the league at 5'6", and I think he sees a lot of Darren Sproles and Deuce Vaughn using him this way.
Yeah, and it goes to, again, this coaching staff and the way that they use their running backs, especially in this system. You see Tony Pollard did very well in the passing game. It's good to see Deuce Vaughn get a little action at wide receiver a little bit in the passing game as well, but I mean, this is a crucial year for him, right? Second year jump, we talk about it all the time. He's got to take those necessary steps, and I truly believe he will.
You know, he carried the load at Kansas State as a running back, and that was one of the questions coming out. Could he develop as a wide receiver? And the Cowboys are finding out for themselves this offseason how he develops as a slot receiver. All right, coming up, another guy who we know can catch the football, but he plays defense. It's Trayvon Diggs and those Cowboys corners when the Blitz continues in a moment.
The Dallas Cowboys Blitz, presented by Blockchain.com, is brought to you by AT&T, an official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, and by Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. This segment is brought to you by AT&T, an official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys.
It's crazy. Like, what he's doing is unheard of.
It's Bland! He did it again! Touchdown for Deron Bland. He intercepted by Diggs at the 50-yard line. It is Diggs at the 15.
And the Blitz continues now, and it's so nice having Trayvon Diggs back healthy again for the 2024 season. Welcome back to the Blitz. Bill Jones, Nicole Hutchison, now joined by Nick Harris of DallasCowboys.com, and pretty good little cornerback starting class there.
Oh, yeah, we have a healthy Trayvon Diggs, expecting a healthy Trayvon Diggs by training camp. Also, you have the NFL's pick six leader and interceptions leader from 2023 in Deron Bland that will be back here as well. But we got to ask, there's this question about if Dallas has the best quarterback duo in the league. Nick, I've got to ask you, though. Do you believe they have the best duo in the league?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because this time last year we were talking about the duo of Trayvon Diggs and Stephon Gilmore. And whenever Trayvon Diggs went down, Deron Bland just stepped in and gave almost the same effort as you would probably gotten out of Trayvon Diggs last year. So now we're having the conversation of Diggs and Bland. I would have to say so. If you can expect a healthy Trayvon Diggs to come back with Deron Bland, you have two ball-hungry corners on either side. It's going to be tough to throw on these guys. They're going to be going for turnovers. You have a dog in Jordan Lewis that's on the inside that likes to get feisty as well. The depth of that unit, that's probably where the question marks start to arise. But if you're looking at the duo just themselves, I got to take Diggs and Bland over anybody else in the NFL. I love what Denzel Ward and Martin Emerson Jr. do for the Cleveland Browns. I think that's going to be a really fun matchup in Week 1. I like Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, another young duo there in New York Jets, but I'm going to take Bland and Diggs for sure.
Cowboys have the best receiving cornerbacks in the league on the outside. Let's hear from the slot corner, the most veteran member of the group, Jordan Lewis.
I know those two guys are playmakers. I mean, they understand how to get to the ball, and it's obvious that they've been the best at it in the league. So just being, true to form, just going out there performing and just, seeing what we can do in this new scheme. I know they're going to get the ball, but, I think it's going to be some new wrinkles for the new defense. So I'm pretty excited for it.
And by the way, speaking of good health, it's great to have a healthy Jordan Lewis, fully healthy coming into the 24 season.
Yeah, last year he was around this time during OTAs still recovering from that Lisfranc injury that he suffered to his foot. And whenever that injury initially happened, it looked like it could be career threatening, but he took the rehab process very seriously, got back on the field in time for Week 1, and had a really good year, especially down the stretch last season, being able to cover slot weapons and being back in the building for Jordan Lewis. It's a big deal. I was able to talk to him yesterday about, whenever they were having their exit interviews after the Packers loss, he didn't know if he would be back in the building come 2024. But he signs a one-year contract, he's back in Dallas, and he's really excited to work under Mike Zimmer. I think for him, it's just about continuing to be physical, continuing to find those little wrinkles that Mike Zimmer's defense could bring, and I think he's going to have a really good 2024 now that he is fully healthy.
What do you think about the depth in this cornerback position group? I mean, you talk about Kalen Carson, Eric Scott, two unproven guys, of course, the rookie. Talk about those guys and what they kind of bring to the table.
Yeah, and you also have Nashawn Wright, and I think length on the outside could be, that's where you call upon it if Deron Bland or Trayvon Diggs were to go down at any point. But talking about Eric Scott Jr. and Kalen Carson, both of those guys, you talk about physicality, both of them bring that. And I think with Eric Scott Jr. specifically, what you maybe lack in a little bit of speed from the Southern Miss product, you probably pick up in that physicality realm. I think that's a situation that if Jordan Lewis were to go down, Eric Scott Jr. maybe is the most realistic fit to come in and play in the slot to be able to cover slot weapons. But you also have Kalen Carson there, the rookie out of Wake Forest. He can play outside, he can play inside, really physical in the run game. That's a guy you would love to be able to step in from the slot and be able to attack running backs coming out of the backfield. Go back and look at his film from his time with the Demon Deacons. He is throwing tackles around, he's throwing ball carriers around. I think both of those guys, they bring that physicality element that I think the top three also bring.
It's great to know all that stuff about those young guys backing up, but there is a lack of depth behind the starting corners. And Stephon Gilmore, as of this hour, is still unsigned out there. And the Cowboys do have some Michael Gallup money coming here this week. How about that? All right, we're going to have more with Nick Harris coming up in just a moment. But first, next up, we're going to hear from the Cowboys tight end, Jake Ferguson.
This segment was brought to you by AT&T, an official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. This segment is brought to you by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
This league, you can't be complacent. You got to just keep growing. You got to keep getting better. You got to get better every year. There's one goal, and that's all we're working for.
Big number 87, Jake Ferguson, 71 catches and 5 touchdowns in his second year in the NFL last year. As we welcome you back here to the Blitz, Bill Jones along with Nicole Hutchison, who got to know Jake Ferguson a little better this week.
You know, and I like the way that he used the word complacent. He's not a complacent guy, and I love that about him. I got a chance to actually talk to him about what he's doing this offseason to really elevate his game, and this is something you definitely want to listen to. Obviously, last year was a hell of a year for you, and you brought that extra fire, that physicality to this Cowboys offense. Just how do you kind of build off of that?
I think, for me, I think in this offense, it's easy to build on it. You know what I mean? You know, that's the standard now. Whatever we did, and I think as a group, me, myself included, I think there's so much more to do, so much more to give. Knowing the potential of this offense, you know, we still got to have that sting.
Talk about that bad taste in your mouth from last year. Just how much has that kind of fueled you this offseason in terms of your training?
A ton. I think it's kind of hard for, you know, not only the Green Bay game, but even the year before San Fran. I mean, those are my 2 seasons here, and I'm still sick about both of them. And, you know, that goes into the training. And coming into year 3, I think you know, I've got a little bit more, I wouldn't say being comfortable, because I think when you're complacent, it ends up hurting you. But I think I've got a better idea of what I need to do to be ready for the season. I know that, hey, I need to condition more, you know, in the first 5 weeks of the season, so when it does get in the end, I'm not dying out there. I need to not maintain my strength throughout the season. I need to keep getting stronger throughout the season. Just little things, and, you know, fine-tuning my body in the offseason. You know, I weighed in at 260, and I mean, I was strong, strongest I've ever been, was running fast, but I had no wind. My conditioning was terrible. And then so I was like, okay, you know, let's taper it back to 255. How am I moving? How am I feeling? And just, you know, really learning about my body, learning what I feel most comfortable at, so where I can play the best ball I can.
Well, you kind of shed off some weight a little bit, fixed your conditioning. What did that look like?
I mean, I take a walk out here in this Texas heat, I'll lose 10 pounds anyway. But, you know, just little stuff, you know, when it is an off day, hey, you know, go walk or go run a little bit. Out here, just, you know, keep pushing. Coach says, oh, you know, turn it down a little bit. Like, you just ran, like, no, I need to be able to run 3 long routes in a row, 4 or 5, you know what I mean? And still be able to, you know, go block somebody. So just having my win so ready for, like, a game scenario. Like, I'm going to be in, could have a 15-play drive. I need to be ready for it. So just the little things.
Obviously losing Zeke a year ago, the Cowboys lost that bully on the offensive side of the ball. So I think Jake obviously is really looking forward to continuing that and just building off of that this 2024 season.
Jake Ferguson, he's got football in his blood. Of course, the grandson of a Hall of Famer, former Wisconsin coach Barry Alvarez. All right, we're going to talk more Jake Ferguson and the tight ends with Nick Harris, including an update on Luke Schoonmaker, the second-round pick from last year, when the Blitz continues.
This segment was brought to you by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
The Blitz continues now, and we are rejoined by Nick Harris. A double dose of Nick Harris on this edition of the Blitz, and we need him because we heard from Jake Ferguson. Great interview with him last segment, and he was one of my favorite players in that rookie class a couple of years ago from the get-go. And now the way he has grown and developed in this league, I think he's going to have even bigger season this year. What are your thoughts on Jake?
I was just having this conversation yesterday. This time last year, we were having a discussion about if Jake Ferguson could be the tight end one for the Dallas Cowboys. Now we're having the discussion if he's a top 5 tight end maybe in the NFL. Look what he did last year, being able to be a receiving weapon for Dak Prescott, not only in the short game, but even finding some things down the field in the vertical game. That seam route that him and Dak Prescott perfected last year, we saw that so many times. It helped them get out of jams. It helped create scoring opportunities. And I think the more experience that Jake Ferguson gets under his belt, the better he's going to be. You also saw improvement in run blocking from Jake Ferguson last year. I think that was probably his biggest knock going into year 2, but he was able to improve in that area as well. If he can continue that trajectory, I think he's going to be a pretty well-built all-around tight end for these Dallas Cowboys.
We always talk about the big year 1 to year 2 jumps within this organization, and you see what Jake Ferguson did. Now it's time for Luke Schoonmaker, obviously, to make that jump as well. What do you think about him? And I know he's battled a shoulder injury this offseason. Do you feel realistically that he's ready to make that jump?
Yeah, he's battled a lot of injuries, Nicole.
Yeah.
Coming in last year out of Michigan, he was already dealing with a plantar fascia issue in his foot. It sidelined him through OTAs and minicamp. He was able to get back on the field about midway through training camp last year, and now this offseason had the offseason shoulder injury, and now he's out of OTAs because of a hamstring injury. But still taking those mental reps, and if you talk to anybody in the tight end room, you talk to tight ends coach Lunda Wells, they love what he brings from a mental aspect. They just want to see him at 100%, and Luke Schoonmaker would tell you the same exact thing. He was brought in to be this big-time run blocker that can get after defenders at the point of attack and push the ball down the field. And he can still do that, I think, going into year 2. He's just going to have to be healthy going into training camp. That's going to be the biggest thing for the Michigan product.
All right, going into the draft, there was one position on this team, maybe quarterback as well. Tight end was one that, okay, they do not need to draft a tight end this year, and a lot of that has to do with the depth that they have, and with Peyton Hendershot going into his 3rd year, and then what John Stevens showed in training camp last year, and then they've got another undrafted guy in Brevin Spanford as well.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be the most premier battle that we're going to be watching at training camp. I mean, you can look at running back or you can look on the offensive line, but it's going to be a really fun battle to track. Look at these guys and the depth of that unit. A lot of Big Ten guys still in that unit. We could start with Peyton Hendershot and what he's brought to year 3. He's still a big-time receiving weapon that they can use. He battled a little bit of injury during the midway point of the season last year. How can he overcome that going into year 3? Then you look at John Stevens Jr., the Louisiana Lafayette product, came in as a wide receiver but translated to tight end as he went into training camp with Coach Lunda Wells. Had a huge training camp down there in Oxnard, but tore his ACL in the preseason. And Stephen Jones has said many times that he was on track to make the 53-man roster. And then you bring in a guy like Brevin Spanford. They gave him the most guaranteed money out of the entire undrafted free agent class this year. And now he's going to be able to come in with these big run blocking knacks. And that's probably something that this room really needs. So when it comes to what type of tight end does it work for the Dallas Cowboys, that'll probably end up being your answer as to who wins this tight end battle down the stretch.
All right, Nick Harris, always informative and entertaining. We appreciate it. And we wrap up the Blitz in just a moment. When we come back, the Cowboys and the Rams, we're going to see a lot of them come training camp in Oxnard.
The Dallas Cowboys Blitz, presented by Blockchain.com, was brought to you by AT&T, an official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, and by blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today.
Hey, it's the month of June, and the Juneteenth celebration is fast approaching. We're going to celebrate it early this year at the Miller Lighthouse at AT&T Stadium, Saturday, June 15th, 3 to 7 p.m. Enjoy live entertainment. Shop local black-owned businesses as well. The Juneteenth celebration at AT&T Stadium. Final minute or so of the Blitz. Bill Jones with Nicole Hutchison. Training camp will be here before you know it. Preseason games. By the way, all the preseason games you can watch right here on the station that you're watching right now. And the Cowboys will open the preseason against the Rams, a Sunday afternoon game on August 11th. But they're going to also practice with the Rams.
Hey, man, the Cowboys hung 43 points on them in the AT&T Stadium last October. But no, I think this will be a good test for the Cowboys, especially their run game. I know the Rams addressed that position, that defensive line this offseason. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they go up against them.
That's right. The veterans will get their most work of the offseason when they practice with the Rams that week. That does it for the Blitz. For Nicole, I'm Bill, and we will see you again next week on the Blitz.